Hi, Dad. Welcome back to another episode of Dave and Andy's Honest About Life. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Still trying to stay honest, Andy.
Trying. I would imagine there's a time. Speaking of that, this isn't really what we were going to talk about, but I imagine there's a time, times where you feel like there's there's different levels of honesty, or there's you know, uh,
I like the one about omission. I think if you omit something, like you're telling your friend or your wife or your girlfriend what you did during the day, but you omit something that you know is she's not going to be happy about, or he's not going to be happy about, so you don't tell them. And I think that's lying through omission, because you're really not giving the full honest truth, are you? I mean, that's the way I look at it.
yeah, no, I definitely agree that there's something to that. If you feel like you've done something that they wouldn't approve of, then there's some other issue going on there. So it's what I mean. So it's really so why do we feel that way?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yeah,
You and I have been there, and
yeah.
there are probably some things we wouldn't want to share with a lot of people, but hey,
We definitely had some good times. We need to get back there, by the way. We really do.
yeah, yeah, we definitely do. And I, just a couple more weeks down the road, I think I'll be able to do that.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you got some big things coming up here in the beginning of next month. Um, well, good, good. I think about you and I talk a lot about health, and we talk a lot about sort of this weight gain and loss. One of the do you go out to eat regular, like during the week? How many times?
Oh boy. I guess I've been fixing dinner for myself and whoever else wants to join me. But I've been doing that almost every evening. So the morning, if I'm doing something where I can't be close to the home, I'll go out for breakfast. But that's maybe 3, 4 times a week is breakfast, but then I don't eat anything after that. For lunch and dinner, I'm eating at home.
Oh yeah. So you're probably eating healthier. You're certainly saving money.
I'm
There was
definitely.
this story on the news. Well, it's been on the news for a while. I think since the pandemic, actually, where restaurants, when they came back online, they were charging fees, added fees. So, you're paying for your food, then you're paying a tip, and then sometimes you recognize this or you notice it, and sometimes you don't. But there's this additional fee. Are you familiar with
I
this
am.
conversations that are happening around those fees?
I am. And it was I think it started because of how difficult it was for these restaurants. And so I love restaurants and I love eating out.
Yeah.
And so I think it's was one of those things where they were having so much trouble finding help that they had to put in these extra, because they had to pay more. They were paying their help more. And in order to stay afloat, they had to have, people paying a little bit extra. And that's, the costs of everything's gone up. But I think it comes back to the pandemic.
Yeah. I think we're part of the majority when we say we like to go out and eat, for a number of reasons, right? The good food, you don't have to clean up the kitchen after it's done, et cetera. So there's a lot of different good reasons for that. And you also happen to know a lot of folks who run restaurants and who work in restaurants, and you just feel so bad for them that it's such a challenging environment, a challenging business, and you just wish they would be able to sort it all out and live a comfortable life while making all of us happy through food. But one of the weird things about the conversation that's going on lately is, the lack of transparency in these fees. And I think there's a huge opportunity for a greater transparency, because I think people like you and I and others who visit restaurants on a regular basis, I think we'd pay the fees if we knew what they were for. If just put it out there, right?
I
Whether
totally
it's
agree.
on the receipt or on the menu or on the door on the way in, let us know what these fees are for. And I think the problem gets to be when we feel like we've been duped, right? We order the food, we're always planning to give an 18 or 20% tip, and then all of a sudden there's an 18 or 20% additional fee. So the question that I have about all that is, why are we not questioning the cost of the food? Because we don't know what goes into the cost of the food. So for whatever reason, we are spending our time complaining about the fees, but we don't talk about it's an $18 burger, which is fine, right? It's fine, but how do if we were aware of the costs, the problem again is, we don't know what it costs to employ, the staff. We don't know what health insurance costs for your staff. We don't know how much the food itself, what's the cost of the food, all this kind of stuff to keep the lights on, the cleaning staff, all that. We don't ever question any of that. We don't question the fact that it's an $18 burger, but we question this fee. I just wonder why that is.
Yeah, it's kind of unseen. It's an unseen thing that we don't know, and we like to be told up front. It's kind of like if somebody does omit something in a conversation, a friend or a good friend, maybe a companion, they omit something, and it's always it makes you feel worse that they're doing it because they want to be sneaky, or they're doing something worse, So I think when they hide these fees, or they put them on there but they don't tell you about them, it makes us feel angry about them, even though they're not doing it to get more profit. I'm almost positive they're not profiting more because they put these fees in. I think they're just trying to get back to a comfortable place. And so I wish they would, as you said, I wish they would kind of tell us what these fees are for. It's for the increased costs, all the different things. Then you yeah, fine, everything's costs more, and you'd understand it. But when they try to keep it from you, that's when it's bad. That's when things, bad things happen. Same thing with life, if you keep something from somebody you love, and then they find out about it, they think you did it, to hurt them, or but you really weren't. You were trying to protect them,
or you just really weren't aware of the significance of it, right? You didn't know how the person on the receiving end would feel about it, right? So it's just easier to ignore it, right? And then if it blows up, okay, now we have a problem, we'll deal with it. But I think there's a real opportunity here. And there probably have been instances, examples of this, but wouldn't it be really forward thinking if a restaurant were to post, the cost of everything, the cost of the meat, the eggs, the milk, the vegetables, the cost of the staff on an hourly, what if they actually listed that stuff? I would bet that you and I would frequent that restaurant more often than anywhere else, because we really feel like there's something about that transparency that I'm willing to support. Because you're willing to stick your nose out there, stick your neck out there to say, here's all of our costs. We're asking for a reasonable profit margin, 10%, 15%, 20%. I don't know, maybe it's got to be a lot higher than that in the restaurant industry to survive. But wouldn't that be a novel idea if we were aware of all the costs, and then and really be able to figure out, okay, if I'm going to pay $18 or $20 for this burger, or $30 for the steak, I can accept that cost because of all of the expense, all that had to go into making that steak delicious, for me. You see what I'm saying with all that?
Well, I totally agree. You've kind of hit the nail on the head, and I think restaurants would be doing themselves a benefit, because they would be more transparent on that. And I think you're right. I think more people would frequent those places because they see it. They're not being cheated.
Right.
They're getting what they're paying for.
Right. And as a consumer, we don't have to be a super wise, accountant to value a profit margin, or in terms of, look, I'm willing to accept the fact that they need to do better. They need to bring in more revenue than their costs and their overall expenses. so that they stay in business. And so you don't have to be super smart financially speaking, right, to accept that a 15% profit margin is exactly what this restaurant needs to stay in business, and I'll support that. But I just wonder what role that non-transparency, that why am I paying so much, and now this extra fee. I wonder what role that plays in our decision making. You know.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It plays a big part. We like to know what we're paying for. At least I do. Now, when money's tighter, you like to know where every penny is going. And I think that would definitely help. And how would you feel if your best steak place went belly up because they couldn't afford it because they didn't want to charge more? Well, we don't want that to happen. So let's be transparent about all these extra costs and keep the doors open, because I love a good steak, as you know.
I do too.
There are some good steak places out there, and you want them to stay open. You want them to stay viable. And maybe that's the answer, Andy. And maybe you've created something that restaurants will do. They've a lot of times, a lot of restaurants have put how much fat there is in their food, how many calories there are for every burger you eat.
Yeah.
Why can't they include how much this cost through, transportation, through the people that are handling it, people that are preparing it, all those things are valuable. It's valuable information.
Yeah, and now we make an educated decision on where to spend our money and to support them. And I would think just the act of doing that at some level would be reason for folks to go and frequent that restaurant, just because now you have access to information. And yeah,
I hope, Andy, I hope some restaurants listen to what we're saying today. I really do hope, and I hope that happens, because this will surprise the industry, I think, because you kind of hit it when you said, I'm going to frequent that place because now I know what I'm paying for. And I think that's true of 90% of the people out there.
Yep.
I'm willing to bet that. And so I hope restaurants hear what you're saying. I'm going to tell this to a few of my friends that own restaurants and say, this is what my son came up with, and it's a damn good idea, I think.
Well,
and see what they say.
Exactly. I think that if you're going to pay, 30 or let's say $40 or $50 for a steak, and then like you said, Dad, the restaurant closes in a year, you're wondering, how could that be? I'm paying what I think is way too much for a steak. It's delicious, but I'm paying way too much for it. And how is it that you couldn't stay in business charging this much? So if I could understand that better, then I'd have a different approach to, when I go, how often I go, what else would I get when I'm there? Because I want them to your point, you want them to be in business, and you're surprised when they go out of business.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's happening way too much, at least, in the cities that I'm in the Twin Cities. We see places like this going belly up all the time. They can't make it. And I think it's because they're being too secretive about how much they have to raise the prices, and people don't want to go then.
Right. Well, let's see if this little video we've made here, this conversation we've had, makes a difference. And let's see if somebody down the road refers back to this idea. That would be tremendous.
I hope so. I hope it becomes Andy's idea.
Yeah.
It's AI. It's new artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
It's AI. Right. So it's Andy's AI.
Well, thank you, Dad. Love to connect with you in this way and have these conversations. And we never seem to run out of things to talk about. So thank you for that.
It's amazing. Thank you, buddy. I love you.
Love you. See you soon.
See you soon.